a tentative restart at Hong Kong International, but it's anything but business as usual. The day began with few signs of the mass protests that brought the airport to a standstill on Monday. But it may prove a brief respite. Hundreds of flights remained cancelled. Officials warned many others would need to be rerouted after the shutdown. For some wary travelers, a mix of frustration and sympathy.
No, it hasn't been funny. I don't think I will ever fly Hong Kong again.
There are, things that are going on, and I'm with Hong Kong people, and hopefully it will, things get better and everyone gets, safely home.
Hong Kong's airport, one of the world's busiest, is now ground zero for protesters and their challenge to Beijing. Thousands staged a sit-in here on Monday, outraged over what they see as the erosion of their democratic freedoms by China.
It's a kind of inconvenience or selfishness caused to other people, but we cannot avoid this. It's somehow unavoidable because we fight for a final goal. That is our freedom.
Protesters' anger fueled as well by fresh scenes of police violence. On Sunday, they fired tear gas at close range at demonstrators inside a subway station and charged many with batons. These violent scenes are now a growing part of the biggest crisis Hong Kong has seen in decades. But the territory's chief executive defended the police and gave no sign of concessions at a tense press conference.
So what is your responsibility as the leader of Hong Kong to solve this chaos?
The chief executive's responsibility is to ensure that Hong Kong remains a safe and orderly and law-abiding city. That is my utmost responsibility.
As protesters show no signs of backing down, the territory's rulers have ramped up their rhetoric, denouncing some violent demonstrations as terrorism for the first time. That, many fear, could be a prelude to a harsh crackdown under anti-terror laws.
And joining me from Hong Kong International Airport is our very own Phoebe Kong. Phoebe, even though the airport is open again, many flights are still cancelled, I understand. Does that mean that we can expect further unrest at the airport?
Well, there have been another assembly for the 5th straight day here at the Hong Kong International Airport. And right nearby where I'm standing right here, the protesters, they are now gathering at the arrivals hall. But so far, as you can see behind me, there are tourists and passengers walking through at the departure hall. They are going to depart Hong Kong, and so far there is no chaos or disruption caused to the operation of the airport. Although over 200 flights has been cancelled by the Hong Kong-based carrier Cathay Pacific, but other flights are operated by other airlines around the world will resume normally. And protesters, they're now gathering, they chant slogans, and somehow they walk around in the terminal and they try to spread the message to the tourists arriving Hong Kong from different part of the world. They try to distribute handbills to them, and so far it remains peaceful. The atmosphere is not that tense at this airport.
Well, the protests are obviously continuing, and I understand that they're actually spreading to other locations. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, apart from airport, there are rallies organized and held at over 10 hospitals across Hong Kong today. And hundreds of medical staff, including doctors and nurses, they protest against the alleged brutality of the Hong Kong police force. So they wear black masks and they wear the black ribbons on their uniforms, and they protest at where they work, which is their hospitals, and they're trying to urge the government, especially the police force, not to further harming the citizens in the future. And that is the major demands, and we can see there are professionals, medical professionals coming out, standing out to voice the concerns towards the excessive force used by the Hong Kong police force.
Now, Hong Kong authorities and the Chinese government are using increasingly sharp language to condemn the protests. The word terrorism has been used. What do these latest statements tell us about the authorities' strategy for resolving the situation?
Well, it has been mentioned in the report earlier that Carrie Lam have met the press earlier today, and she tried to reiterate the condemnation towards the violence of the so-called rioters. And the governments, they are not backing down anyway. They're not making any compromise to any of the demands of the protesters, but instead they are using harsh language to condemn the protesters' action, such as Carrie Lam is saying that the protesters have simply no stake at this society, and the Beijing authority, they even describe the protesters as terrorists. So we can see that this is not a good sign to cool down the situation, but it will further trigger violence very likely in the future.
Phoebe, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. Our correspondent there in Hong Kong, Phoebe Kong.